So I have enlisted, is that the word? Enlisted?
We'll go with it.
Okay, we'll go with it. The help of the lovely Harry to help me with the next step, I guess, of my podcast journey, being that I need to practice what I preach. And how can I expect all my amazing guests to come on this podcast and share their stories without being someone to do the same thing? So today is all about me, I guess. And Harry is going to help me so that I don't feel like a lunatic just talking at a camera and telling everyone my life story. But we're going to go through my accident and what happened to me. So yeah, Harry's trying to steal the show with his trousers today. So sorry, guys.
Yeah, no, I don't like it being all about you. I wanted to take some attention back for myself.
You're trying to take some of the limelight. It's fine, you can have it.
Well, I wanted to call this. I told you I'm going to take the lead, right? So yeah. I'm going to name this podcast.
Oh God!
It's not going to be intro all about me, all about Sophie. We're not going to call it that.
Okay.
We're going to call it getting back on the horse. and that might be ambiguous for some of the listeners. Some of them who know you might obviously know what we're referring to there. We'll go into that in more depth in this podcast, but it has kind of two meanings, like metaphorically and literally. But I think how you're framing this and your intention with this is actually super important, because like for myself, I'm a high performance coach. I work with lots of individuals on a really intimate basis. Very different to kind of like therapy, although we do get deep and my clients do end up crying and telling me their life story. But what they say about me is that they say that Harry shares a lot of Harry and they connect with that. So what you're doing here is like you're showing yourself and telling your own story, going deeper into your psyche and your experiences, rather than just sitting here as the person who's quite distant interviewing other people, right? So this is going to be powerful for you and to connect with your audience. I'm excited to help you.
I hope so. And I think that's essentially why I wanted to do it, because I said in a couple of my other podcasts that I always feel a stronger connection to people who have gone through something, that being anything, grief, heartbreak, you name it. But because I feel like I'm more able to be myself and like more authentic, because they also feel like they can do that, and then it's like reciprocated. You know, it's like if someone says to you like, "Oh, how are you?" and you're like, "Oh yeah, I'm fine." Immediately you're like, "God, I can't tell them that I'm like not fine," because they're going to be like, "What's wrong with her?" So you just automatically go, "Oh yeah, same," because that's just your like default reaction. Whereas if someone's like, "How are you?" and you're like, "Yeah, hanging in there," and then they're like, "Oh God, honestly, last week this," and then it always leads to something. People feel more open to say like, "Yeah, maybe not everything is amazing right now," and then you can bond and connect over that. So
it's a good little exercise to do, actually. Go through your day and just like don't tell one lie. And that includes
you said that to me before.
Yeah, if I said that to you, like when someone asks you how you are, like don't lie.
Don't say anything that's a lie. Just say be completely.
So if you're completely, are we allowed to swear on this podcast?
Yeah, we can. It's totally unfiltered.
I was going to say, if you're completely fucked, right? You're in chaos, right? You're in the hole. You are not allowed to say, I'm doing all right, because you're not. You got to be honest. So I love that exercise. It's good.
Yeah, I think it just helps people, because even with the tiny little things like that, you get so in a hole of and it becomes a habit. Yeah. You do it all the time. And that's essentially what I'm trying to encourage people to do with this podcast, because the whole world is guilty, but Dubai in particular can be really bad for that.
Yeah.
You open social media, everyone's living the high life. And I think that's what I found so hard with my accident, is that I was struggling and suffering every day for months, and I open my phone and I'm just like, wow, everyone is really just living their best lives, and I was just sat miserable, and it just made the difference feel so big. It made me feel like I just had so far to go.
Yes.
Whereas if someone had sat down and said, actually I've got this going on, I'd have felt so much more like, oh, okay, it's not just me.
Tell me about your accident, because we've known each other for what, like a year and a half?
No, longer than that. It's like 2.5 years.
2.5 years. And you told me that it was a concussion. And I'm like, this girl is like such a hypochondriac. It's unreal.
She needs to chill out. A concussion that happened 3 years ago.
Yeah. When we used to train and you'd be like, yeah, I can't do this. I was concussed. like 10 years ago, I was like, okay.
It's not 10.
Okay, whatever.
It's not 10 years ago. Okay.
But yeah, so tell us and tell the audience about your accident and what happened.
Yeah, so I mean, I'll less about like the whole day and like the build up to it, but essentially like Harry said, I said it was a concussion, and I do that I say that to a lot of people because it's just easier than getting into the absolute like depths of what it was, because it was just intense. So in November 2022, I'd just flown my new horse over. This is the most first world thing I've ever said.
Dubai problems, everyone. I just flew my horse over from the UK. First class.
You know, when you say something out loud and you're like, wow, that sounds it's like something else. But anyway, so I'd just flown Joey, my horse, over from the UK. And it was such like a big thing for me, like to finally have like my own horse here with me in Dubai. Like it was honestly like a dream come true. Everything was amazing. And then on one random Saturday, this is something I'll come back to as well, like the safety in horse riding, because the amount of times, especially here, I see people out doing those desert rides, no helmet on, just galloping through, and it gives me like cold shivers, because I just think, how stupid are you? Seriously, to even think about getting on a horse without a helmet.
Did you have a helmet on?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. And if I didn't, I wouldn't be sat here.
Yeah.
So, and that is the absolute bottom line to it. Like, I really wouldn't be sat here.
How is it saying that out loud? Like,
yeah, it's pretty mad. And I had come round to it a few times when I threw away my helmet that I was wearing, because when you fall off in a helmet and you hit your head, I mean, you should get rid of it anytime you fall off, but particularly if you hit your head, you need to essentially throw it away and start again. And they're not cheap. They're not cheap. So many people just go, oh no, I'll just keep it, it'll be fine. But when you remove the lining of the helmet, my helmet literally cracked in two, literally snapped in half. All that was holding it together was the lining, like the shell of the helmet. Wow. So yeah, it's quite intense to think, you know, if I wasn't wearing that, if I'd have not made that split decision, you know, to put that on. I mean, I do it every time anyway, but a lot of people don't. And I wasn't doing anything dangerous, far from it. I was doing probably the most basic of basic things in the world. That was the irony of the accident, that, you know, I wasn't jumping, I wasn't galloping around, I wasn't doing anything high risk. I mean, getting on a horse anyway is high risk, but I mean, you're getting on an animal with a brain and trusting them that they're not going to throw you off, right? So it's high risk, but I wasn't doing anything within the sport that is considered that. And with a brain injury, which is what I had, it's very hard for me to explain the incident in my own terms because I don't remember anything. That's sometimes what I've struggled with the most over this time frame, is that what I think happened in my head is not what happened. It was actually like something else. So I'm having to take away from the accident and what happened just based on what other people have told me happened, which I find it's a bit weird. You know, I feel like it's like an out of body experience. Someone's like, this happened. And I'm like, when the hell was that? Like, I don't remember that at all.
That's really interesting, I find it, because like that's what like a near-death experience, an NDE, actually does to you. Like sometimes your mind can actually store those memories differently in order to protect you. Like the trauma response from that is fascinating. I don't know too much about that. I'm not going to go into that, but like some people just completely like black out in order for them to be protected post injury, post event. And it seems like that's the sort of thing that happened to you. And
then, so the way that I fell is, he literally, I was just trotting, this isn't going to make sense to a lot of people, but for some people, obviously it will. I was just trotting on a circle and he completely lost his footing and just stumbled onto his knees, which, I mean, my horse is 178 centimeters. He's massive. My horse is huge. Like if I'm standing on my tiptoes, I mean, I'm nearly 6 foot tall and I'm reaching up super high. I can barely touch his ears. He's massive. His movement threw me forwards. And then I was sort of going forward as he was trying to come up to sort of save himself. So he basically essentially headbutted me, broke my nose, and then knocked me unconscious. And in the same sort of second, he then lost his footing again, because obviously I've thrown him off balance, kind of thing. And he went down and I got thrown completely like 9 feet in a different direction. So he's on the ground, I'm on the ground. Because I was already unconscious and before I fell, I had zero instincts to I'm unconscious. So you naturally, like horse riders, typically, one of the most common injuries for horse riders is you fracture you break your collarbone or ribs, because essentially from when you're falling from that height, that's the angle that you're at. So you try to stop yourself and it like ricochets up your arm and always breaks here. Like that's the typical one. Or ribs when you like stop, drop and roll kind of thing. So I landed essentially full body weight on the right side of my head here, like this bottom section here. Again, obviously these are based on what other people have told me and the extent of my injuries. And I was having a post-traumatic seizure, which lasted for quite a while. This is a bit intense, especially triggering, I guess, for people who've suffered from seizures and stuff, but like eyes in the back of my head, like almost like foaming at the mouth, like really awful stuff. A friend of mine who was there, she obviously came running over and she managed to take my phone from my pocket, use my Face ID to unlock the phone and call my boyfriend at the time, called Rich. How quickly can you get here? So it's been in an accident. And I don't know how, but he beat the ambulance there. So I don't know how many speed cameras he set off. I mean, luckily we only lived around the corner from the stables.
Wow.
That's kind of where sort of my, like what people have told me. Rich obviously said in the ambulance that, I don't remember any of this. I remember this was a Saturday evening. So I remember waking up, I'd say like 9-10 p.m. in an MRI machine and being completely like, oh my God, what is happening? Like just completely confused, thrashing, like to the point they had to come and give me a sedation whilst I was in the MRI, because I was just completely like, where am I at? What is going on? And then I don't really remember anything, but everybody kept telling me that I was having just completely normal conversations with everyone, talking completely fine, chatting away, telling everyone my life story. Actually, I have a heart condition. This is my issue. I don't really like needles. I was telling the doctors everything in completely plain, normal English, like there was nothing wrong with me. That was the day of the accident. And then a complete blackout moment pretty much until the following day in the evening. And I woke up, this is quite gross, but I woke up vomiting. And then again, I had another moment of complete thrashing. They had to sedate me again because I'd woken up connected to every machine possible. I was in intensive care, which is like, I don't know if anyone's ever spent any time in intensive care, but it's like you're in like a bed that's like an incubator and you're like attached to every machine possible that beeps like so loud and at different rhythms. And then there's just a glass window with like a nurse just watching you like you're a fish in an aquarium. Like, and you're just like, where am I? No visiting hours. I think they get like maybe an hour a day visiting hours.
What do you think at this point, like your family, like your mum especially, was thinking?
Honestly, I didn't know where I was or what was going on. When Rich came to see me in the afternoon, I was like, have you told mum what's happening? He was like, yeah, she's fine. Like mum was like, get me on a plane, I'm coming over. Like as mums always do. And I was like, it was the first time when I thought, oh my God, I'm so far away from home. Like could not be further away. I mean, in some ways, thank God, I was so far away from home. I don't know how the NHS would have handled that type of thing and whether I would have had the same experience post-incident, because the healthcare here is like incredible. You know, I was in intensive care for 4 days, and then in and out of the MRI and CT scanner multiple times. I didn't get out of bed once, couldn't move. Dizzy, head spinning, nausea. Like I had just this like crippling pain on my side here where I'd actually didn't break any ribs. I didn't break anything other than my head, but but I didn't break any other bones essentially.
I broke my head.
It broke my brain. Yeah, it was a bit broken for some time. And then I moved on to a ward for 3 days before I annoyed the doctors and nurses enough to let me go home.
Do you remember seeing Rich in like when it was happening? Like,
honestly, the main thing I remember is the next day I was like, I was in all my horse riding clothes. Like I woke up vomiting, and honestly, all I could smell, this is so gross, is like the horses and like dirt and like mud. That's all I remember smelling, which is so weird. Like I can literally smell it now. Like sometimes I go to the stables and I'm like, oh my God, like that smell memory.
Is it a trigger? Is it a triggering smell or experience for you?
A bit, yeah, because I'm like, whoa, it like shocks me sometimes because it kind of takes me there, which is really weird. I've never really had like a smell like
smells like everyone's experience. Like you walk into a room and then you can smell someone's aftershave or perfume, and you're like, oh my God, this person. You associate smells that are triggers, even like sights, even like things that are happening with people, with experiences and with events. So I imagine we'll talk about this in a minute, but like getting back was like, I imagine that was like something else for you. But I wanted to know before that, like, what do you remember like the first time you reflected? Because you kind of said that during this you were almost like delusionally okay. Like you were just chatting, you were talking to the nurses, you were telling them about your life previously. But do you remember the first time you kind of like woke up and was like, shit, like that just happened? Like what happened and how am I here, sort of thing? Do you remember that moment? That pivotal moment?
I do. It was a lot. It was probably about 8 days after. So I'd been at home for 2 or 3 days. And it was my follow-up with the neurologists. I'll go back to obviously the diagnosis that they gave me when I was in hospital, but essentially they let me go home after 6 days, and then I'd been at home for a couple of days, and I had my follow-up with the neurologist, and it was only on that day with the follow-up with the neurologist, when I went back to the hospital, I lost the plot. It was from that day. Before that, I was like in this like denial of like, oh, I'm totally fine. I just convinced myself it was nothing and I was just going to be fine. It was when I went back and then they showed me the scans and I was a bit more able to process it. And I was like, oh my God, I've got such a long road ahead of me. Like, this is insane. Because essentially what happened was, like you say, I told you it was a concussion, which is what I told quite a lot of people. When the doctors, like, it's where I went to Mediclinic and it's where I met my neurologist, and I'm going to send this to him because he's a freaking legend. Dr. Dirk, he was at Mediclinic, he's just moved to a different hospital, but the guy saved my life, like in more ways than I can even explain. Like, where in the world can you get your neurologist on WhatsApp? He was like checking in on me. I'd send him in the middle of the night. I'd be having an absolute panic about something and he'd be like, it's okay. That's totally normal. You know, and it just, honestly, the most incredible human being. Forget neurologist, forget doctor, just an all round unbelievable human being.
So what was your reaction when you woke up?
From
that moment, like when you were like, shit,
I think.
What was the response?
I burst into tears. That's my normal reaction to most things. Yeah. Just that, like, I remember looking him in the face and he was like, how are you doing? And I sort of just stared at him and I could feel my eyes going, and he went, oh, are we on the edge of some waterworks? Quote word for word, that's what he said. And that was it. Lost it. Ugly crying, like almost to the, you know, when you can't breathe, that can't breathe, uncontrollable crying where I think I just let it all just came out. And that's when he was going through all of the details and the things that they'd found. So in all of my multiple MRIs that I'd had, they'd found not just a concussion, because you can have both. I had between 5 and 7 contusions, cerebral contusions, which are tears in the actual brain tissue itself. Contusion basically means bruise, buildup of blood, basically. So it's a tear in the lining, and mine were all over the place, mainly here. But typically they're in the areas which control emotion, your memory, and visuospatial awareness, basically. So you're being able to plan movements, like if you're walking towards a table or 2 chairs here and here, and there's a small gap to fit through. Like I permanently have 2 bruises on either side of my hip here, like on top of my thigh here, because like I find it really difficult to look at a space and work out how much room I have. So I'm like constantly like bashing off things, or like, when you've had a really shit day and then you like catch your sleeve on like the door handle and stuff, and you're like, oh my God. I do that probably 5 times a day. Don't laugh, it's not funny, because it's absolute.
I'm just reflecting back on when I used to train with you, right?
Yeah.
And just reflecting on some of the incidents.
Yeah, I'm so clumsy, and I used to think it was just because
I was scared for my life. I thought I was going to get a dumbbell around the head or something at some point, but
honestly, I'm just so clumsy, and I used to think it was just because. Like I never used to be like this. I've not been clumsy since I came out of the womb. Like this is a last 2-3 years thing. It's out of control. And it was almost like when I sit with my neurologist and he's like, these are the scientific reasons why you struggle with those things. I'm like, oh my God, thank God.
Yeah.
Thank God it's not just because I'm like, yeah. So I had these tears.
So she says, by the way.
Yeah, you can check it. I'll put the reports. But I had these tears all over. And typically, if they're of a small size, they heal by themselves, but it takes months to heal. And you're essentially you can't do anything really to speed up the process. You're kind of just sitting and waiting. And that was kind of where I was like, wow, this is not easy. I'm not a patient person. And just to sit here and do nothing, and I just at mercy of the symptoms that it was giving me, I just really struggled with it. And that's when I had my emotional breakdown in his office a week after, that's when he explained about the anxiety side of things, and how he wanted to put me on an anti-anxiety medication. And I thought he wanted to put me on it just because he'd seen me had a breakdown. Like I was so upset. So I was like, no, I don't want to go on it. I don't want to feel numb I just want to, I was so sick of feeling like I was squashing everything. And I was finally at the point where I could like let it out. I didn't want to squash it again. So I didn't go on any of the medication. He gave it to me and I didn't take it. And in hindsight, I feel like such an idiot, because it took me until March, where I went from November till March, when I went so downhill so quickly in like I was petrified. I was so scared by all of my symptoms. I was getting completely irrational, convincing myself of things that were just not happening. Like medically, like I am a bit of a hypochondriac, but that was insane. I just couldn't make sense of any of my emotions. I was saying things and being like, who is that? Like I didn't recognize the things coming out of my mouth. It was horrible. And in hindsight, if I'd have actually listened and gone on them sooner, I think I would have got to a more stable point much quicker, because someone described it to me as, it's like anti-anxiety, antidepressant is kind of in the same bubble or same category. It's that like, say you're driving down the motorway at 70 miles an hour, you're a passenger in a car, and the driver says, just get out. You're like, You're going 70 miles an hour. I can't just get out. I'm going to die. Like that is impossible. That is an impossible task. And then you have this complete freak out about it. And then the driver says, okay, fine. Slows down to 10 miles an hour and says, get out. You're like, this is not fun and I don't want to do this, but it's so much more manageable.
Yeah.
And the fear is much less and you can rationalize it so much better. That's how they described being on anti-anxiety or antidepressants. Like, even if it's temporarily, it's that ability to be able to manage situations in a more calm manner. You don't eliminate, I don't feel anxious.
Yeah. I mean,
you're not numb. You still feel it.
Yeah.
It's just, it doesn't take over.
Yeah. I have a different perspective on on these things, like antidepressants and anxiety pills. I think always we can first manage these things from natural remedies. And I think that there are always repercussions. And I think that every individual, like that analogy is perfect for the perfect individual.
Yeah.
But I think for another individual who's, let's say, not so perfect genetically, physiologically, psychologically, emotionally, it could have even worse effects. So I think, I mean, I get it. Like, in the perfect scenario.
Yeah, everyone needs their own analysis of it and make sure that it's right for them.
Yeah, and 100%. For you, you think in hindsight, maybe you would have recovered quicker, but maybe you would have had something else come up and maybe you'd have had adverse effects from that in a different way that you don't even know the reality of.
Yeah.
So I think
Can look at it from both ways.
We can see it from both ways, but what I wanted to know now is like, how has it really affected you since in your life, in your relationships, within yourself? How has that experience emotionally, psychologically, and physically impacted you today?
Yeah, I mean, I'll start with physically because I feel like they're the symptoms that I notice more easily, I would say, in that I suffered really bad vertigo, which if anyone has ever suffered with vertigo, oh my gosh, my heart bleeds for people with that. It's honestly so difficult because I fractured my inner ear, so I have trouble with my balance and things like that. But I got treatment for it and I manage it. But I still experience those symptoms every day, but it's more manageable. In terms of, like I mentioned earlier, obviously spatial awareness and things like that, it's a work in progress. And I went to neuro rehab because of it. Because of your left brain, right brain, your right brain controls the left side of your body movement. And at the time, I'd lost the feeling from essentially my armpit through to the tip of my finger and all the way down the back of my left leg. So I felt like I'm walking on sponge. It felt like my left leg was made out of sponge. That's the only way I can describe it. So slowly, all the nerves have been reworking and I've had to work harder to be stronger through my left leg and all of those things. Emotionally, I would say, I mean, number one, I would never be doing this podcast. Not a chance in hell.
Well, it took you long enough.
Well, to do it even when I decided, 100%.
I'm only joking.
But it's, I think I suppressed my emotions so much pre-accident. Like now I'm just much more of an open book. I can be more present with people, which is the number one thing for me. That now if I'm sitting with someone, I'm sitting with them and we're having a conversation. I can be so present. Whereas before I'd be like on my phone scrolling or doing, something that we're all guilty for, whatever it is.
What do you think that was? Was that you distracting yourself? Was it unconsciously you were doing that or what?
I think I had so much stress and work happening at the time. Like the year of my accident, 2022, I remember nothing of the year other than what projects we launched that year. I'm like, right, January was Peninsula 5. Then we launched Six Senses. Then we launched Peninsula 3. Then we launched this. I don't remember Jan, Feb, March, April, what holiday. I don't remember any of that. I remember out that year in terms of what projects we were launching. I had zero room in my brain for anything else. Don't come to me with a problem. I've got no space for it. And I was like, I would shut it off immediately. And I was a pretty shit friend, to be honest. because I was so self-absorbed in that. It was like someone, if someone comes to you with something else and you're like, I want to be there for you, but mentally I just don't have the capacity to take anything else on right now. And I don't want to be that person.
Yeah.
That makes me feel more shit, to be honest. So I think that's where I've found post-accident, I'm more self-reflective. Like, I'm much more self-reflective, self-aware. Like, I can pick out when I'm feeling a certain way, or I can recognize it early, or I can recognize my burnout way before it happens. Like, I've not experienced burnout since. But before, I think I was on the edge of I genuinely think the accident happened. I don't know whether people believe in this, like the universe has a way of telling you certain things, but I genuinely believe like it did happen for a reason. Like, people always ask me, like, oh, do you wish it never happened? No. It was one of the worst things I've ever gone through.
Yeah.
Honestly, it was horrific. But would I change it? No.
Yeah.
Because the person I am before and now is totally different.
I don't think it matters whether other people believe in it. I think when we think about these types of things, there's like, you apply the meaning to it that you believe in. And I think like I've done that myself. It's like what happened here is like, this is practically or logically what happened, right? But the meaning is up to you. What meaning do you want to apply to that event and that situation? And I think life has a way of like whispering these types of like changes or these types of things, like, Sophie, sort yourself out, do this, make sure you're not getting consumed by work, make sure you're giving your time to yourself, make sure you're present with your friends and your family, whatever. And then it will whisper to you so much, and then it will just like knock you in the face.
Yeah. It's like, I read something and it was like, take time for yourself, give yourself a break, or your body will do it for you.
Yeah.
It's like you'll get sick or whatever, and you're like, oh, if only I'd have actually just listened. And I have to, it's a conscious thing. It's not something I can I still till now, like it's not a habit of mine yet. It's taking me, I lived for 26 years like that. Only post-accident, like for the last 3 years, have I started to really listen and be conscious. And I have to remind myself, I'm like, you're doing too much. You're saying yes to too many things. Stop doing that. And I'm running like a traffic light system now. So, which sounds really weird, but like if I have like, so like your green events are things that you love doing and they don't stress you. They're just like your core, wholesome, hate that word, like things that you love to do. Then you have your amber things where you're like, you love doing them, but they are quite taxing sometimes. And then your red things are like that big event at work where you're just going to be exhausted and it's going to take it out of you. You still probably enjoy them, but they really take everything from you. Well,
it's like your needs.
Yeah.
Like not your needs, but the need to do's, right?
Yeah.
I have to do this, but I don't like doing it. Or I need to do this, but it takes my energy.
Yeah.
It's like, don't do those things too much. But
yeah. So then I have my traffic light system. So it's like, okay, if I've got a red event in the morning, I can't book a red event in the afternoon because I'm going to end up half dead by the end of the evening. You have to balance it out. Okay, do something amber if I have to, like yellow, and then you can do something green at the end of the day just to like soften it. And I have to position my days like that. It's been a game changer.
Do you apply that to people as well?
Oh, that's a good question.
There we go. That's a light bulb moment right there.
Yeah. You know what? I don't feel like, again, this is probably a post-accident thing. I just don't have red people in my life.
Well, there you go.
But I used to, hundreds of them. And I'd dedicate all of my time and energy to them. And I'm like, why? 100%. And then you wonder why you're exhausted at the end of the day.
I think 99% of people, if they just took one thing from this podcast, and it is this.
Remove the red people from your life.
Remove reds.
Get the reds out.
Fuck those reds off right now.
Fuck the reds.
Fuck the reds. Up the blues.
No.
Nah, so yeah, I mean that's testament to like your mentality and your mindset since the accident. And that's the sort of mentality that's going to carry on and serve you for the rest of your life. Like, don't give your time and energy to this person or this thing because it doesn't serve me.
Yeah.
And like, you wouldn't have had, when would it have occurred to you to make these types of changes in your life if you didn't go through that?
It doesn't. But again, I think that's why I connect with so many people, because I feel like these things sometimes do take, I know you called it an NDE earlier, which made me laugh, but a near-death experience.
Scientifically,
but it's like that mortality moment.
Yes.
Like everybody will say, yeah, well, you only live once. Okay, keep saying it.
Yeah.
When you actually believe it, I'll listen. People will say it all the time.
Yeah.
And I don't know how many people truly actually realize it. And I think only people who have suffered maybe potentially great loss or things like that truly believe it and live their life like that every day.
For sure. It's like when you think about affirmations, right? People like discuss these affirmations, they write them down, they say to themselves in the mirror, but it's going from like language to just this surface level place in your brain. It's not actually taking effect, because you don't change your behavior from information, you change it from emotion. So there's this thing called an incantation, which is like emotionally feeling different from an affirmation.
Yeah.
So you can say the word.
The actual change.
And it's like gratitude, right? You could think about someone who you're super grateful for. And then how does that make you feel emotionally? That's going to induce some sort of change in you because it's impacted you emotionally.
It's your why.
Exactly. Not because you've just written their name on your gratitude journal. Like if you just write a list of names.
It's to evoke emotion.
And it's not going to do anything until you sit there and reflect on that person or that thing. So that's what like physical events do for us. Like this for you, it's like this changed you on an emotional level that you will never get.
Never.
No matter how many books you read, no matter how much journaling you do, it's not going to change you until you actually, maybe it doesn't have to be going through an experience like that, because I don't believe that. But I do think it's got to emotionally, something you do or you feel has to emotionally change.
100%. It's when you see like, you know, if someone's going through their own journey and then they have kids, it's all of a sudden it's like that child is my why now. And it's like, why did it take that? Because it provokes that emotion in someone that they were suppressing the whole time, but they have no choice when it's like paternal or maternal love and things like that. I think I mean, I hate this word journey. I don't know why, it just kind of makes me cringe a bit, but I think everybody has to go along their own journey, and mine's not been straightforward by any means, but I spoke to Ty about this on the last podcast, and it was that, you know, you have to look back to see how far you've come. And I think it should be one of the only real times that you do look back, you know, is to see how far you've come. Because when I think about me, you know, this time 2 years ago, like there's things I'm doing now that I would just never. I just bought a horse that show jumps. If like the neurologist told me I should never ride again, like one more bang to the head and that's like, it could be really game over. But for me, it was just never an option. Not riding again was never an option for me. I said it out loud once when I was that's when I knew I'm in a really dark place. I said out loud, I'm never riding again. And even now I feel a bit guilty because I said it. And I said it and I meant it at the time. And now obviously I'm riding again and I'm like, almost feel like I've like been a bit of a hypocrite to myself in a weird way. But that's when I think I was just like almost like not in a sane mind when I've said that, because it was just never on the cards for me. He was like, my neurologist has me saved and like basically saved as he says I'm a phoenix. Like that I've risen from the ashes and what am I going to do with my second chance at life? Wow. That's what he said to me at my first appointment back. He said, what are you going to do with your second chance at life? I was like, pardon? Imagine being someone said that to you. You're like, wait, what? Oh, and then I felt like this overwhelming, like I had two feelings. The one of like, oh my God, I'm so lucky to be here. I just want to make the most of it. And then another one of like pure pressure that like, I can't just live an average life now. Now I've got to live the most incredible life I can because it's my second child. Like it was just such a mix of emotions.
Wow.
But yeah, being
the phoenix.
The phoenix, yeah. Yeah. Love Dr. Dirk. What a legend.
What would you say to people that have been through something similar? Let's not call it an NDE because you didn't like that, but let's call it a near-death experience, right? What would you say to people that have been through something similar, but who are maybe struggling, like in the midst of when you've been in your darkest places, in that place?
Good question. I think it's hard because I can approach it from two perspectives. I can approach it from keep using these, from a TBI, which is a traumatic brain injury perspective. And then I can approach it from like a general scheme.
I want it from your heart.
Honestly, knowledge is power. It's something that I tapped into a lot. Again, it's not for everyone, but for me, it was like, I'm a bit of a control freak. So not having any control over my symptoms or what was happening to me from a medical perspective just made me feel so helpless. I just felt useless. Like I was just sitting and waiting to feel better. And I'm just not a reactive person. I'm a proactive person, typically in work, in life, and everything. So I was like, every single podcast I could find on what I was suffering from, you know, even people who had gone through it, just hearing someone who had gone through something similar and had come out the other side, that just filled me with a whole different sense. And then they would say a million things, you know, why didn't you try this? Why didn't you try that? And I'd be like, that's not going to work. That's not going to work. But they'd say one thing and I think, well, it's worth a shot. What's the alternative? I just sit here. You know, I listened to this one podcast and that's when the girl had mentioned about this certain type of vertigo that I had and had been suffering with for like 2 months. And she mentioned it's called BPPV, which is a benign paroxysmal positional vertigo. So essentially, when you turn your head like this, you end up, your brain gets all these different signals. But I heard about that off of a podcast and it helped me so much. You know, watching YouTube videos or listening to audiobooks, like for me, knowledge was power. To have complete understanding of what was happening to my body and listening to people who had gone through something similar just made me feel like, this is again cliche, but just that you're not on your own, that you're not a weirdo, or you're not, you know, you're not having these weird symptoms, and just because you can't make sense of them doesn't mean they're not real. And I think that for me was like the biggest thing. I wish I'd done it sooner in a way. Like I wish other people were like, yeah, you know, I'm going to listen to that podcast and I'm going to really understand what's happening to my body, because at least then I can be proactive and not take control, because sometimes there's things you can't control, but you can control the way that your mind functions around it. And, you know, what things are good for it. Why don't you try this alternate therapy? Like you said, you mentioned like herbal treatments or alternate therapies or sport or going for a walk or it's like a bit of a trial and error thing, I think.
Well, I think that's what I take from what you just said there, which is find the environment, whether that's your digital environment, your physical environment, like people, or like your space where you can really connect with and you can actually like relate to. So whether that's like YouTube videos, in which people are talking about things that you feel and experience yourself, that's connecting with other people, like your digital environment. Like curate it so that it actually helps you rather than hinders you. You said before you were like looking at other people online and thinking like everyone else is out there living their best life and I'm just here, because your digital environment was set up to sabotage you.
Yeah, I was looking at people at the golf the day after my accident. I was looking at people at the Abu Dhabi F1 and I was like, oh my, it just felt like they were all here and I was like right down here.
Yeah.
And that gap just felt insane. So then essentially what I did is I took people who were a bit closer to me and then that gap just didn't feel so small.
Exactly.
So big, sorry.
Exactly.
And then it's a bit more manageable and you can take it step by step. And then eventually you suddenly realize, you know, 3 years later, oh, I'm back here again. But, you know, that felt so far away.
Yeah.
So far. So it's a bit mad.
Are you proud of yourself?
Yeah, I am. Because I think it takes a lot to pull yourself out of a pretty dark place, physically, emotionally, any which way. And I think I'd like to say I'm proud of myself, which I am, but like I do owe like a lot of my friends and like the people around me. I had an unreal circle of people around me. And again, like we said about reds, removing those red people from your life. When you go through something like that, they remove themselves. To be honest, you don't really have to do much. It's like a natural course of what happens. You know, like the people that you really want to show up for you probably sometimes don't. And I had this conversation with Ty as well. I don't know whether it's going to become like potentially a running theme when you go through something, you know, a difficult time in your life. Do those real people show up for you? And I think mine did tenfold.
Yes.
And they still do now. So it's
tough because I kind of have a bit of empathy for it kind of sounds a bit backwards, but almost a little bit of empathy that the people that don't realize the severity of the situation. So there's like people that are super close to you are going to know everything you're going through, but then there's the people that are like one layer out who don't quite understand what's actually happening. And like, I've experienced this and I completely like, but what you learn to do is you put those people in their own box and you like you relate to them in the way that you want to from this moment on. It's like, you don't remove them just because they weren't there for you, because I understand that they didn't quite know the severity of how I was feeling. That's fine. But now that they weren't fully intentional with how they were kind of checking in or following up or there for you in a specific way, then they're going to be placed in their little box. And that's where I'm going to keep them. And then we have a level of relationship that is coherent with that, you know? Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's that, I would say that's, in answer to your question, yeah, bloody hell, I am proud of myself. Like it takes a village, but yeah, I am proud of myself for sure.
Yeah. And we'll remove the because it's not conditional.
True. So many, you should just be, that's just life. You should just be able to answer a question and be like, yeah. You shouldn't need to follow it up with like a validation as to why you think you are. It's like if someone's like, oh, are you coming here? No. And they're like, waiting for you to follow.
Are you going to tell me why?
Yeah, like, no, I just don't want to.
Yeah. Like, there's so much value in this, like not having to like reassure yourself.
That what you're doing is like, okay.
Yeah, you're just reassuring yourself. You're like, people are just always people pleasing and you just get rid of the whys and the conditional states of how you feel. Like you feel how you feel because of how you feel. That's that. Like, don't have to back it up with evidence sometimes.
And then podcast title, Getting Back on the Horse.
Yeah. So tell me about that. How was it getting back on the horse?
So I didn't ride the horses for 7 months, which might not sound long to a lot of people, but I started riding when I was 4. I don't think there's been a 7-month period where that is the longest I've gone not riding. And I hadn't been discharged from my neurologist. I wasn't allowed to be getting back on, but in typical true Sophie Wells style, I was like, I woke up one morning and I was like, it's happening. I'm getting back on, even if it's just for a walk. Bought my new helmet. Again, safety studies on helmets. Oh my God, I did so much research into like the technology in helmets, and the helmet that I was actually wearing, the brand, had one of the lowest safety standards. But I bought it because it looks nice.
Wow.
And now I see the brand, everyone's wearing it, and I'm just like, wow, you have no idea. And everybody dresses for the fashion because it looks nice. But functionality, like, do you want to die or not? Do you want to have a brain injury or not? Because that's essentially all you should look at. So I bought my new helmet, and it has MIPS technology, which is what they put in motorcycle helmets. So it allows for rotation and it allows some movement of the brain inside the skull, which is what is allowed to happen. Otherwise, the brain essentially bounces off the skull, and that's what causes these lesions. And so got my new helmet, and I bought an air jacket again, which they give for motorcyclists. So it's just a soft bit of fabric. You clip it onto the saddle, and then if you separate from the horse, it comes out of a gas can. The sort of the lanyard that clips onto the saddle comes out of the gas canister, and it blows up like a inflatable life jacket up to the right under the base of your skull and all the way down to like the end of your coccyx, and protects everything, all your vital organs, everything. So I literally only ride like that now. And I'd been doing vestibular therapy, which is your balance. And then also alongside that, I'd been doing like actual therapy, helping me deal with certain things. And I probably don't need it now, but I do it like once a fortnight just because but I literally love it. It's part of my green calendar. Like it just helps me. And we'd been doing a lot of work on visualization because that's what I struggled with the most. I just couldn't see myself back on a horse. I wanted to, but I couldn't see how it was possible. I just couldn't. I was like, it was such a mental block. It was like, that's not happening. I have no idea how I'm even going to do that. So
was that fear for you? Like, was that you in a state of fear?
It was so weird because I wouldn't call it fear, because everyone kept asking me this, like, how are you riding again? Are you not scared? I'm like, it's really hard to be scared of something that you don't remember. I don't remember anything. All I know of it is what people told me.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't remember. So again, that emotional side of it, it doesn't provoke that emotion of like fear in me because I don't remember. But I felt numb to it. I was like, and I felt guilty that everybody around me didn't want me to ride. My mum didn't want me to get back on. Rich didn't want me to get back on. All of my friends thought I was mental. My neurologist definitely didn't want me to get back on. And I felt like a bit guilty that it was what I wanted to do, but everyone else was like, what are you doing? So that was the struggle I was having. But I just couldn't imagine like when Dr. Dirt said, like, what are you going to do with your second chance at life? My whole life is horse riding. I'm there every day, sometimes twice a day. I cannot imagine my life not doing that. And I wouldn't want to spend it not doing it. And once I'd accepted that and stopped trying to convince other people that that's what I wanted to do and I was just going to do it, that's when I finally was like, I'm getting on the horse. And it was the best day ever. And it was like my whole attitude to everything. There's a picture of me and I was having the time of my life. Like I was so happy to be back on, but I look absolutely petrified. Like really? I'll put the picture on. I'm like smiling through like gritted teeth and I'm like, I look so uncomfortable. I don't even look like me on a horse. I look so uncomfortable, but I was just happy to be there.
Wow.
I think my body was saying something else. Like my brain was saying I'm happy and my face was like, oh, I'm so scared. But it was like everything changed from there. And now I wouldn't imagine life not doing it. I mean, I take a lot more caution and I don't go super crazy ever. But there was no way I wasn't getting back on.
Powerful stuff.
Yeah, got to get
Amazing.
back on.
Get back on the horse, everyone.
Yeah.
So in life then, metaphorically, physically you got back on.
Physically back on the horse.
Have we got back on the horse in metaphorically in life? But like taking everything that you went through and where you are today, like what does it mean to you to get back on the horse metaphorically?
I think for me, it's about remembering, it's about not falling back into old ways. That's my version of getting back on the horse metaphorically. It's that I don't want to fall into my the old Sophie ways where it's, again, I stop being present with my friends and I start working myself to the bone. I didn't go to work for 9 weeks. No one died. Work still functioned. Everyone was, okay, I took a bit of a salary hit, but I made up for it tenfold when I got back. Yes, work ethic is something, but it's not everything. And I was killing myself to work hard and make a life for myself. And then I was laying in the hospital bed thinking, for what? For what? because this could have happened and I'm going to get replaced tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I remember I went back to work after 9 weeks of being off, and we were in the middle of some really big project launches. I work in real estate. So we were in the middle of some really big project launches when I was off. I think we launched 2 or 3 developments in the time I was off. And I think the first thing someone said to me was, oh, you know, so-and-so made 2.5 million dirham. Like, you just missed out on so much money. I just thought, hold on a minute. I said, I would have been in debt and paid somebody else that 2.5 million dirham just to have not gone through the last however long. I was like, I don't care about the money. I would have literally given everything just not to have gone at that time, to have not gone through that. I thought, it's just not all about money. And that's when I was like, I'm not sure, that person's probably gone through something quite...
They're going in the red.
Yeah, they're going in the red section. But I remember just sort of standing there and thinking, that is the most bizarre statement. But I would have probably made that statement to somebody else before.
Yeah.
And that's probably not a good thing. But I think it could have been something that came out of my mouth pre-accident, and they're just the places that I just don't want to go. I love my job and I absolutely love making money and I love the freedom that it brings, but it's not the be and end all.
Yes.
And my health is so important. And getting back on the horse for me metaphorically is that I maintain all of these principles like I spoke about, like still going to therapy and still being present with people and being so mindful and all of these things and these new ways that I'm learning to exist, basically. And they stay with me going forward. And I have to make a conscious effort, like I say, to make sure I stay doing it. It's one of the reasons why I carry on doing therapy. It's that reminder of someone who's been with me since the day, day one. They've seen everything, literally everything. So yeah, that's my answer.
So I think that's a good time to bring it to a close. But before we do, I want to ask you I want to ask you a question. And my questions go deep. So
oh god.
No, this is the closing question. So I want you to essentially finish the question, right? What doesn't kill you makes you...
Oh, it's my closing question. I'm not even sure what to answer. I think mindful is probably my answer. And I mean that for me and for other people. It's made me realize to be more mindful of how other people are feeling, to be more mindful of my own emotions and how they impact other people as well. Because I can be quite a hothead sometimes, and knowing how my emotions and my energy impacts other people. Like one of the best things I think that's happened to me post all of this situation is that people say that I have like a really nice energy. No one ever said that to me before. Like I must have carried around with me this like, sat in a room kind of like grey cloud energy. It's all like to be mindful that your energy really impacts a room and impacts everybody around you. Even if you say zero, even if you just walk into a room quietly and say nothing, your whole energy, your whole demeanor and being mindful of how that impacts everyone. I think that's what it's made me, I would say. And it's so small, but it makes so much difference.
Yeah.
So that's my
Energy
answer.
is everything, right?
Energy is everything.
Amazing. Well, I thoroughly enjoyed listening to your story. I've not heard
the full ins and outs.
80% of what you spoke about. So that's amazing. And
it's intense.
And yeah, I think that there's going to be a lot that people could take from that. Even if you haven't been through anything like that.
Yeah.
You can take a lot from the types of messages and weave them into how you live. And I think that's a great closing intention is like live with more presence and mindfulness. I think you get a lot of benefit from that.
Yeah. Energy is everything. Well, thank you so much. Thank you.
All good.